The attack speed cap is going up, every single domination keystone rune is getting buffed, and we've got 18 champions getting adjusted as well, so there is a lot to discuss in this one as we bring you guys up to speed with all of the changes that's going to be hitting live servers this upcoming Wednesday, February 5th for patch S1.3. And do you remember when knowing how to set up a freeze in low elo made you special? These days, you're considered a troll if you don't know what a freeze is, and the problem is, challengers are so incredibly out of touch with the fact that everyone in low elo has improved. So if you ask for help, you just keep getting the same outdated advice. Or even worse, they give you tips that only work in high elo, like how you should sync up your wave crashes with your teammates in multiple lanes to set up invades or objective priority. The theoretically correct play, though, is usually not what actually works in your own elo. Oftentimes, it's something that may seem out of the ordinary, like split pushing as an ADC that'll give you way more agency. We teach you the correct way to play League of Legends like everyone else does, but also the adaptations that actually work in the elo that you are in, so you'll always have multiple great ideas for what to do to win games. We are constantly producing and updating our strategies with players getting better, so Skillcapped is by far the best platform for learning League of Legends. We're so confident that if you don't climb 5 divisions while actively using Skillcapped, you can claim a full refund. Our service has zero risk with the potential to save you tons of time in your climb, so make sure to give us a try. So one of the more interesting changes of the patch is being issued to the attack speed cap. For the longest time, the attack speed cap's been sitting at 2.5. However, it's being increased up to 3 for S1.3. Lethal tempo users and champs who like to stack a lot of attack speed are the ones that are really going to benefit from this the most, while champs who don't stack much attack speed won't be influenced by the change at all. It's a late game buff that likely won't lead to a drastic shift in meta, as it won't even come into effect for you in the majority of games. So we have a buff to Chemtech Soul being issued as the damage amp when you're below 50% health is going up from 11 to 13%. By now, we all know how detrimental the removal of eyeball collection has been for many domination rune users, and Riot's going to try and combat this in S1.3 by buffing up all the domination keystone runes. Hail of Blade's going to be seeing its attack speed increased from 110 to 140%, while its cooldown is dropping from 12 to 10 seconds. The base damage on Dark Harvest is going up from 20 to 30, while damage per soul is being increased from 9 to 11. And as for Electrocute, it's going to see a damage buff with base damage going up from 50 scaling to 190 to 70 scaling to 240. Bloodsong has been seeing a lot more play on melee supports in specific lately, so Riot's targeting that class of champs by nerfing the melee damage amp on Bloodsong, going from 10 to 8%. Bloodsong duration is going to be lowered as well, going from 6 to 4 seconds. Cloud Soul is getting nerfed for S1.3 with its movement speed increase being lowered from 20 to 15%. Riot's changing the Voracious Atakhan buff for this patch so that when you die and go into stasis, you're now going to have to wait 15 seconds to respawn after being killed. So this is really going to drastically reduce the strength of the buff so that you can't just run in and die and then teleport right back into the fight moments later. The Void Grub buff is going to be nerfed for this patch as the damage to structures is being lowered. Realmspike is actually getting hit with a nerf despite mage supports not being super prominent in the meta. The cooldown is going up from 10 to 11 seconds, while the base damage drops from 10 to 5. There are going to be a bunch of changes issued to bounties for S1.3 as the required lead for champion bounty devaluation is being reduced by 60%. Losing team bounties will fully turn off 50% sooner, and when objective bounties spawn, champion bounties will be removed from the losing team. Evelynn is going to be getting a big scaling buff to her E as the base damage is going up from 55 scaling to 115 to 60 scaling to 180. Riot has a few buffs lined up for Jax, with his mana regen being increased from 7.6 to 8.2. Health per level is up from 100 to 103. Our passive damage is being increased from 70 scaling to 170 to 75 scaling to 185. For the second patch in a row, Blue Kayn is going to be buffed with Q base damage going from 75 scaling to 155 to 75 scaling to 175. Red Kayn Q damage is going to be left unchanged. Nasus has been one of the lowest win rate top laner in this new season, so he's finally getting buffed with his passive lifesteal being increased from 9 scaling to 21% to 12 scaling to 24%. W Max Quinn is going to become stronger for this patch as her W attack speed is going up from 28 scaling to 60% to 28 scaling to 80%. Rakan is going to be darting around more often in this patch as his E cooldown is dropping from 20 scaling to 12 seconds to 16 scaling to 12 seconds. Samira is getting a buff with her E attack speed duration being increased from 3 to 5 seconds. Swain is going to be receiving 2 buffs as his passive max health per stack is being increased from 12 to 15. The AP ratio on E is seeing a boost as well, going from 60 to 70%. And just as a note here, honestly, it's a little bit odd that Riot's going with an AP ratio buff here, considering this is really going to help mid and bot lane Swain more, while support is his weakest role but benefits the least. Kind of odd. A couple of Thresh buffs are on the way, with his base armor going up from 33 to 35. Q damage is being increased as well, going from 100 scaling to 300 to 100 scaling to 320. AP ratio on Q is up as well from 90 to 100%. The Cassiopeia Nerf from last patch did not do enough to significantly reduce her power level, so Riot has 2 more nerfs lined up for S1.3, with her Q AP ratio dropping from 70 to 65%. W AP ratio per second is going down as well from 15 to 10%. We've got a couple of minor nerfs to Galio here, as his base health will be lowered from 632 to 600. So we have some changes to Jayce that aim to reduce the power of tank builds while shifting power back to more damage-oriented setups. Ranged Q base damage is going down, however the bonus AD ratio is being increased. Melee Q is going to receive the same treatment with base damage down, but bonus AD ratio up. Melee W damage per tick is just flat out nerfed. Melee R base damage is going to be reduced, however the bonus AD ratio is going up. Now we'll have to hop in Practice Tool and run the numbers when creating the tier list for this patch to see exactly how physical damage Jayce builds are going to be impacted by these changes, but we can absolutely say for certain that tank Jayce does get weaker. So we're going to have a little bit more of a detailed breakdown of the changes for our tier list that drops on February 3rd. Miss Fortune has been the standalone best ADC to start this new season, but that won't be the case anymore, as her base armor is dropping from 28 to 25, while armor per level is going down from 4.2 to 4. It's definitely not the end of the world for MF, as she's now going to become a little bit more in line with the other top tier ADCs like Jinx and Twitch instead of a cut above. Rell has been the most popular melee support in the upper brackets of play lately, so she's going to be nerfed for this patch, with her base health dropping from 640 to 620, and armor growth is down from 4.3 to 4. Skarner is going to be hit with 2 nerfs, as his armor per level is going down from 4.8 to 4.5, and E stun duration is going to be dropping from 1.5 to 1.1 seconds. Teemo is going to be losing quite a bit of damage off his E in the early game, as base is going to be dropping from 14 scaling to 66 to 9 scaling to 65. Viego is going to be issued with a classic base AD nerf, which is probably going to result in about a 1% drop in win rate for the champ, as AD is going from 60 to 57. Another very strong jungler in meta, being Wukong, is going to be nerfed, with his W cooldown going up from 18 scaling to 14 seconds to 20 scaling to 16 seconds. E attack speed is also being reduced, going from 40 scaling to 60% to 35 scaling to 55%.
Okay guys, one last thing. Our rank up guarantee is absolutely insane. It's kind of like signing up for the gym and then just getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in Skillcapped. We obsess over making the best guides with the top players, the rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb as easy as possible. If you're ready to level up, just visit skillcapped.com and literally see the difference.
So that is going to be all for this one, as those are all the changes that we can expect to hit live servers for patch S1.3, which drops this upcoming Wednesday, February the 5th. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.